Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick and a bipartisan group of state senators are touting new bills they say will make the state's electric grid more reliable. Even their critics agree with some of what's been proposed, but as Capitol reporter Monica Madden explains, they say you are going to have to pay a lot more for that peace of mind.
This is a starting point of powering Texas forward.
A bipartisan group of senators unveiled 9 proposals they say will resolve any outstanding issues with Texas's power grid. The same grid that nearly collapsed 2 years ago during the February winter freeze. Several of the bills focus on bolstering and growing dispatchable energy.
Regardless of whether the wind's blowing or the sun's shining or whatever else may be happening, it's ready to go electricity.
One bill would stop state incentives for renewable generation facilities.
They've still got a lot of federal subsidy coming in.
Another would create an energy insurance program to support the construction and operation of new generators, guaranteeing 10,000 megawatts always on standby, enough to power 7.5 million homes.
This is not building a capacity market. It is an insurance product.
That's a lot of backup to have consumers pay for.
But some critics fear these proposals will have a big price tag.
Very expensive for consumers.
Cyrus Reed of the Texas Sierra Club says the easiest solution is to reduce demand for electricity.
If we were to increase the amount that utilities have to spend on energy efficiency, reducing people's demand, we could reduce that red line that's going up and up.
Details both chambers will have to fine-tune in the next 2 months.
It will take several years. That's why we have to start now.
Monica Madden for State of Texas.
A law passed in 2021 required the Public Utility Commission to come up with its own plan to improve reliability. They developed the Performance Credit Mechanism, or PCM. It provides credits to providers to encourage them to produce more power when Texans need it. We reached out to PUC Chairman Peter Lake to get his reaction to the Senate plan. Lake sent us a statement saying they're all working together toward the goal of reliable and affordable energy, and that senators made it clear that his agency's PCM proposal is an important part of the solution that will achieve this for the Texas grid. Current data shows 90% of Texas counties have a shortage of primary care, impacting 7.5 million people. One senator is proposing new legislation he argues will address that shortage. The Heal Texans Act would allow advanced practice registered nurses to provide primary care without having to work under a physician. APRNs also include nurse practitioners. Under current law, they cannot diagnose illnesses or prescribe medications without a supervising doctor. The bill's author, El Paso Democrat Cesar Blanco, argues nurse practitioners are already trained to provide that care, and removing that requirement will fill healthcare gaps.
I am alive and able to come and talk to you today because of the life-saving care I received from my nurse practitioner.
The Heal Texans Act would allow nurse practitioners to continue to do the work that they have already been doing, just without the administrative barriers and the financial barriers of having a supervising physician.
The Texas Medical Association worried patient outcomes could decrease if nurse practitioners do not have as much expertise as physicians. Senator Blanco pushed back and said the debate will continue in the Senate. A deadly shooting at a Dallas hospital leads to new legislation that aims to protect hospital workers. A gunman killed Jacqueline Pocua and Annette Flowers last October at Methodist Hospital. The accused shooter is a violent criminal on parole who had an active ankle monitor. He had permission to be at the hospital to visit his girlfriend who had their baby. Dallas State Representative Rafael Anchia filed legislation to require hospitals to be notified when a violent offender with an ankle monitor visits. Another bill makes it a third-degree felony to assault a hospital worker. Both pieces of legislation are named in honor of Flowers and Pocua. A third bill makes it a felony for parolees to cut off their ankle monitor. The gunman in October shooting had previously cut off his monitor but served only 100 days in custody before being granted parole again. Democratic State Representative James Tallarico introduced a bill that would dissolve the Texas Juvenile Justice Department. He proposes creating a new Office of Youth Safety and Rehabilitation in its place. The legislation aims to change the state's approach to juvenile justice by moving away from incarcerations and toward rehabilitation.
The kids we are throwing in prison are the most vulnerable in our state. 95% have experienced household trauma. 91% of the girls in our system are likely sex trafficking victims, and 84% have serious unmet mental health needs. Half the kids in our child prisons are on suicide watch.
Back in September, the Texas Tribune reported statewide staffing shortages meant children and teenagers are forced to stay in cells for up to 23 hours a day without water or bathroom breaks. In August, the then interim director told lawmakers her agency was, quote, woefully underfunded, adding that facilities were over capacity by 160%. We reached out to the Juvenile Justice Department for a comment on the bill. The department's executive director sent a statement. She wrote that the department is working to meet the needs of communities and youth in the system. She added that the staff, along with support from the governor's office and legislators, is what is needed to establish Texas as the leader in juvenile justice reform. A deal to settle a whistleblower lawsuit against Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton may be falling apart. Attorneys for the whistleblower say they have not been able to reach a final agreement in the multi-million-dollar settlement. The case stems from a lawsuit filed in 2020 by 4 former staffers who accused Paxton of corruption. They got fired from the Attorney General's office after claiming Paxton misused his office to help a campaign donor. Those accusations led to an FBI investigation that's still in progress. No charges have been filed against Paxton. He has denied wrongdoing. In the preliminary settlement, Paxton agreed to apologize and pay the ex-staffers $3.3 million. Texas lawmakers would have to approve that funding. Several lawmakers have voiced opposition to using state funds to pay the settlement. The whistleblower's attorneys say Paxton's team is not meeting terms of the agreement. In a statement, the attorneys said they could not reach a final settlement because of the Office of the Attorney General would not agree to a deadline to have the legislature approve funding this session. They're asking the Texas Supreme Court to revisit the case. Paxton's team put the blame on the whistleblowers. The chief of general litigation at the AG's office called the brief filed with the Supreme Court misleading. He accused the attorneys of coordinating with the media to create drama. The whistleblower's attorneys said the settlement was based on the premise that the funding would be approved this session. It's not clear when the Supreme Court would take up the case again.
I felt helpless. I couldn't do anything.
Our investigation uncovered renters facing the Texas heat without air conditioning. Now, action from a state lawmaker. How it could get landlords to fix broken ACs faster.